Hello everybody, my name is Arnold, and today we have a big fucking box on my desk. Within this box is a 2016 MacBook Pro, 13-inch, it's a base model. Before I turn the box over, let me take out all my personal information. I think that's good. Yeah. So, now there might be a MacBook in here, but there also might be the remnants of a MacBook in here because, as you can see, USPS treated it like a newborn baby. It's very, very, very secure. Very, and then it also rattles a little bit, like the laptop is loose in there, which isn't a good look. Nevertheless, we shall open it up and pray to God that everything is okay. I'm sorry about my annoying cat in the background. Me recording this video has woken her up from her nap, and now she's mad. So you might be asking yourself, why oh why, Mr. Zarnold, did you buy a 2016 base model 13-inch MacBook Pro on eBay? And my answer to that would be because I wanted to try it. You see, I've been daily driving macOS on my ThinkPad X1 Yoga for a month or two now, and boy oh boy do I ever like the macOS. I find it a lot nicer to use for productivity work. Of course, my main gaming rig still has Windows on it, but macOS for productivity, I just find it nicer to use. And I also like how it's based on BSD, so when I open up a terminal, usually it's ZSH, but you can switch to Bash, which I'm pretty comfortable with, Linux and all that. And also the machines look pretty good. And this does have a butterfly keyboard. This is the 2016, which is the most notorious for keyboard issues. And it was also probably the most hated MacBook that Apple ever released, because it was the first one to ditch all of the ports and go all USB-C. But that's fine, because I'm already living the dongle life. And, I quite like the ability to charge the laptop via USB-C, because all of my other devices, this phone, my headphones, not my watch, but my laptop, all of it's USB-C. So just out of pure convenience, and also this is a 13-inch compared to the I believe 15-inch ThinkPad that I currently use, so this is going to be a bit nicer to chuck in a bag and carry around than a ThinkPad. Smaller size will be nice. And of course, if I don't like it, the used market for these is very good, so I can just resell it. That is, if it's not completely fucked up, torn to shreds. I do like to see that it is coated in bubble wrap. That relieves my stress a little bit. Now, there is a couple of issues with this. I did get this on auction for about, I think, $250 US plus $150 of shipping. I don't know whether that's true or not, but that's what I paid. It's probably just the seller wanting either to put insurance on this or to get a guaranteed price for it, no matter what the auction sold for. Anyway, All in, I paid about 575 Canadian dollars for this thing, plus shipping, plus customs import fees. Paid $45 with this thing. You know, the issues with it were delamination on the screen, which I already deal with on the ThinkPad, so that's not that big of a deal to me. And one of the shift keys is broken. Like the keycap keeps falling off, which makes sense because it's butterfly keyboard, and butterfly keyboards are pretty shit. But honestly, as a typer, I don't use the right shift key at all. Like, I will always use the left. I've almost never used the right shift key whenever I've been typing. So I took a little bit of a gamble. You know, it's 50-50. I'm hoping that the shift key that is affected is the right shift key, because if it is, then you know, this laptop pretty much has no issues because I never use right shift. I'm being very ginger with the blade because I don't want to scratch this thing up more than it's already been scratched, you know, being used and all. I'm starting to see laptop, which is good. This bubble wrap is going to be fun later. I'll just use some scissors now. Passcode 1234. And that's the serial number. I'll probably have to blur that out. So this thing is packaged up a lot better than I initially thought it was, because when I picked it up from the post office and I saw it in the box that it came in, I was like, whoa, that doesn't look like a box for a laptop. And when I was carrying it, as I said, it was rattling around, and I was like, whoa, that doesn't sound very good. But it looks like it's okay. Let's take the final condom off. And that's a MacBook, all right. You know, it's got a little bit of cosmetic damage. You know, if this was eBay, I'd say it's a, you know, C grade, maybe. Scratches everywhere. Not everywhere, but, you know, little nicks and scuffs and things like that. But that doesn't matter, because I'm pretty sure I'm going to be putting a dbrand skin on this. You know, I didn't order it yet, because I wanted to wait and see how bad it was. But, you know, I also wanted to get used to the space gray. So I was like, you know, what if I order the dbrand skin and then I end up really liking the space gray and I just want to keep this? It'd be a waste of money. So, you know, I'll have to think about it, because dbrand skins are really nice. They go on and off for these. I'm not sponsored, by the way. They just make really good products. You know, the skins go on, they don't leave any residue when you take them off. And their new Damascus thing is really quite nice. There's a loose screw right there. Or not loose, but it's jutting out. It's not in all the way. So I'll fix that. Actually, you know what? Let's open it up. Let's open it off the back, just for fun. Let's see here. Apple likes their pentalobe screws. I'm pretty sure I have a pentalobe driver. Yep. I think it's these ones. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, no, that's too big. This is the pentalobe driver. Now, the nice thing about the, this isn't unibody, I don't know what you call this, the USB-C only MacBook Pros. This one is quite well, I wouldn't say nicer, but something that is nicer about it compared to newer models of this generation of MacBook Pro is that the storage is upgradable. As I said before, this is the base model, 256 gig, but you can replace that SSD with up to a terabyte one. Now, it's not a standard NVMe SSD, of course, because why would it be? It's got Apple's own proprietary type, yeah. So there's different lengths of screws here. I'm just making sure I put them back properly. Anyway, you can purchase secondhand ones on eBay. So let's see if we can get this thing opened up. I think it's got tabs or something. It's holding it in. If it's going to be a big hassle, then I just won't open it. Because I'm scared. I don't want to fuck this up. Yep. Okay. I will film the opening up portion of this later. Look at an iFixit guide. I'll put the screws in and we will open it up. Or rather, open up the screen. And okay. So that took way longer than I thought it would because one of the screws actually stripped. So that was really fun, taking 15 minutes to get out. But I did it, and I replaced it with one I had laying around in my little screw jar. It's got a bunch of little screws in it. It comes in really useful when you repair electronics all the time. Anyway, yeah, you can kind of see I made some more scratches, but that's okay, because I'm pretty damn sure I'm going to debrand this anyway. Alright. Let's open her up. Wow. That's a MacBook, alright. I can definitely see the screen delamination thing. Also give it a cleaning. I have to give this whole thing a cleaning. Buying used laptops is an icky business. So let's test out. Aha. I got lucky. It is the right shift key that keeps falling out. And that is perfectly okay. Because I never use the right shift. I wonder how this came out. And why it doesn't stick back in. That's quite odd. So this thing goes like that. So I wonder if... yeah. There's supposed to be a little tiny support peg right there. You can kind of see there's that one, and then there's nothing there. So it's got 3 out of the 4, so it should go in just fine. That doesn't lift up at all. Shift key will just come up like that. It's not secured by anything. That's crazy. You know what I'll probably do is Perhaps I will like cut the thing off of here and then like super glue this down just so it looks good, you know, because having it out like that is kind of weird. And maybe I'll just get a new shift keycap, like, I don't know. Or maybe this isn't supposed to happen. Maybe that's why. Yeah. Yeah, it's the support things on the keycap as well. What happens if I just mount it the other way? Will that work? Nope, it's keyed. God damn it. Where is it? Hold on 1 second. Okay, so I kind of figured out what it was. I think this bit here is supposed to be glued down to here, but it's not, because I took off these two, the up and down arrow keys, and this thing was adhered to the bottom. Now, the reason I took these two apart is because they stick, as you might be able to hear. This one was sticking, but I actually got it working, which is good. Yeah, that's fine because I never use right shift anyway, and might literally just need some super glue to make it work again. So we'll attempt that later on though. Let's power this thing on, see if it actually works. I hope it does. Might need a charger. I will get a charger. I wish I was filming, but I wasn't. As soon as I plugged it in, it turned on. And I also had to move because the radius of the charger. And it automatically logged in, which is good. Trackpad's working. macOS Monterey 2013. Oh. That haptic touchpad is quite nice. MacBook Pro 2016, 2 GHz dual core Intel Core i5, 8 GB of DDR3 RAM, Iris graphics. Sounds about right. Let's see the battery here. 1%. Lovely. And it thinks it's 3:08 p.m. on October 21st. That's not correct. Seems like multi-touch is turned off for some reason. Let's turn on tap to click. Maybe I can't right click that like I can on Windows. I'm so used to Windows. Where would we go here? Probably date and time, hey? Sounds about right. Oh, that was loud. Set date and time automatically. Yep. You just need to connect to the internet. No, I will wipe this thing, of course. Actually, no, I won't. Since macOS is already installed on it, the official latest supported version of macOS for this is Monterey. And Ventura was released a couple of months ago now, I think. It doesn't support this. So, but there is the Open Core Legacy Patcher that will take an older MacBook, I think even going as far back as like 2008, and will patch an installer for Monterey, or rather Ventura, to work on an unsupported MacBook. And that is what I'm going to be doing. Now, before we do, I'm going to run a keyboard tester, because I want to see what is working and what isn't. So let's do keyboard tester. I'm curious to see whether or not these arrow keys work. They do stick down, but I don't know if they actually work. Escape. 1, 2, 3. Can't test F11 because it does something, but that's fine. Cool. This row works. That row works. Enter doesn't light up green for some reason, but it works. So the shift key actually doesn't work, it's just loose. Function I can't test. Control Alt. Yeah. So this arrow key works. This arrow key also works. It's finicky. And this arrow key works. Okay, so the up and down arrow keys are just going to be a little bit of a hassle to use, but that's fine. And of course, you can get a top case for this thing. You can get a top case for this thing relatively cheap on eBay. So I will go prepare the open core stuff, and I will be right back. Alright, I'm back from dinner, and I have to make this quick because my phone is at 20% battery, but it should be quick because this is actually going to be very simple. All you have to do is download the installer, which, now that I think about it, might be a little bit difficult because Apple probably won't let me download it on this. There's a, see that? It's like a swatch of burnt pixels. That's too bad. Anyway. Oh, and I'm not connected to the internet. That's nice. I was having Wi-Fi problems on my Hackintosh thing as well, but I thought that, that was just the Hackintosh. Or maybe it's my Wi-Fi network. I don't know. I'm just gonna connect it to Ethernet because that'll be faster to download stuff anyway. Okay, plugged into the network now. Let's refresh the keyboard tester. It's working. Go to the App Store. macOS Ventura. It will let me download it. Oh, never mind. That's okay. So apparently the OpenCore Legacy Patcher GUI now contains a button to download the macOS installer. So that's helpful. Download that. And this swatch of pixels here was not mentioned on the ad, but yeah, there's not really much I can do about that, because I'm pretty sure this was as is. No, I'm not pretty sure. I am definitely sure. This was sold as is, and you know, no returns or anything. I wouldn't want to anyway, because I don't really care. You know, this stuff is actually replaceable as well, because I wanted a new keyboard, just got a new top case, and let's just get a new display assembly. That will run you like $300 for both of them, and that'll be $700 in this machine that I probably could have spent a lot better. But you know, sometimes you have to take risks when you're dealing with technology. Alright, so I'm going to open Core Patcher. Yes. Alright. Create macOS installer. Oh, I'm going to need a USB, aren't I? Ta-da! Plug that into my dongle. Shows up. Create macOS installer, download macOS installer. There's Big Sur, there's Monterey, and there is Ventura. And this is going to take a long time because it looks like 12 gigs. So I will be back when it is done.
1 million zillion jillion dillion cotillion times later.
Okay, I'm back after like an hour and a half, I think. I had some stuff to do. But during that time, I cleaned off the display. Looks a lot better now. And I also cleaned off the back and the palm rest. And I also tried to do something about the shift key. As you can see, it's kind of raised to one side. I used some double-sided electronics adhesive. It's the same stuff that I used to bind the display to the body of my Surface tablet when I took that apart. So it's very thin, like thin in width, but also like height, I guess. It's very small, and it kind of works. it does stick up a little bit, but it also does stick down, which is a good thing. If it were to stick down, then it would be pressing shift all the time. So I'd rather have it sticking up than sticking down. And open up Spotlight and see lowercase, uppercase, lowercase, lowercase. So it works. It's just, it's special. It's a special key. He's a special little guy. So macOS is downloaded. Now we just have to build and install OpenCore. Would you like to install OpenCore now? Configuration has been generated, that's good. Install to disk. Let's install it to the, well, no. First you have to make the macOS installer. Use the downloader disk and put it on Weed. Creating macOS installers can take 30 minutes plus on slower USB drives. We will notify you when it's done. Okay. Well, that's not very much of an issue. Before I cut, I do want to show you that, you see, the butterfly keyboard has been, how you say, ridiculed for its low amount of travel and general mushy feeling keys. And I can agree with that because, I built my own mechanical keyboard. Going from that on my desktop to this is an adjustment. But I must say, when I open up Monkey Type, I have consistently gotten better speeds on this keyboard than I did, or that I do, on my mechanical keyboard. I couldn't tell you why. I presume it's because of the low travel. Here, let's do that. But, I can just hit the keys quicker on this one than I can on my mechanical one. Maybe that's because I have a tendency to bottom out. I should probably work on that. My speeds will likely go up. But, I'm bumping the tripod. It's not good. So, as you can see, 110, that's pretty good for me. I can open up my profile here, and you'll see, my personal best in 25 words, 147, was actually set on an Apple, not a Magic keyboard, but, a full-size Apple desktop, like, wired keyboard that you see in, like, schools, because they did it at school. But yeah, if I go down in my profile here, you'll see that, let's do the last month. Usually I'm hovering around, down here is like around 100. There's one where I did 76. Yeah, you get the point. I'm faster on this than I am on my mechanical keyboard, and I can't tell you why. It's because the travel is shorter, and I always bottom out. So that's something I need to work on. Anyway, it's still not done, so I will come back when it is.
82 kilometers later.
Okay, so it's done making the installer. Now I just have to install OpenCore to disk. Now, the way that this thing works is, you might have heard of OpenCore before, and that's because OpenCore's primary purpose, I think, is for Hackintoshing. That's what I use on my X1 Yoga to boot macOS. And It's basically just a bootloader that can load these special files called kex that are basically just drivers that tell macOS what to do with the hardware, and also emulate some Apple hardware that isn't that otherwise would not be compatible. Like, you know, putting an Intel Wi-Fi card wouldn't work because no Macs really ship with Intel Wi-Fi cards. So there's a kex for that, makes it work. Anyway, what this does is does that, but in a different sort of way that makes macOS work on an unsupported Apple laptop. So I'm a little bit familiar with what it's doing behind the scenes, but also I'm not very familiar with what it's doing behind the scenes. So it's built the EFI now. It's very useful that it does this automatically, because when you do this on a Hackintosh, it is very annoying to get all of the kex working, and actually getting macOS to boot is like a multi-day process. So it's very nice that it's automated, of course, because it's an Apple laptop, that makes sense. Install to disk. First we're going to install it to the USB, because that's what we're going to be booting off of. We'll go back in and install it to the internal SSD later on. Enter password. You'll need to reboot and hold the Option key and select Open Core Boot EFI's partition. Option. Reboot. You need to hold down the Option key. I've got the USB drive on this dongle, by the way. I love the dongle life. Just kidding, I hate it. Ooh, startup chime. I was not expecting that. It's supposed to hold Option, keep holding Option, and go to EFI boot. I can let go of Option and go to install macOS Ventura. It's very apparent now, the little swatch of dead pixels there. But that's okay. I guess it'll be more noticeable if I use it in dark mode, which sucks, but whatever. And it looks like high DPI isn't on, because that is a very small Apple logo. Holy crap, yeah, high DPI isn't on. Holy, let's move in a little bit here. I'll zoom a little bit on the camera. I wonder why high DPI isn't on. That's odd. So let's install macOS Ventura. I don't believe we need to erase the disk before we do this. I don't think. It should just work. Now, it'll be interesting to see if I'll be able to restore from a Time Machine backup, because as I mentioned in my Unraid video, I have a Time Machine server on the network, and it's running Monterey, and all of the backups that I've done have been Monterey. So running Ventura, who knows? Maybe it'll accept the older files, it'll be backwards compatible, or maybe it won't be. Well, I'll just have to see. Speaking of Time Machine backups, I'm going to get out my ThinkPad and I'll get up to power. Whoops. I'll put up to power and get it backing up to Time Machine. just so you can restore from the absolute latest backup. I'll be back when this is done.
You get the idea.
Okay, so it's most of the way through the installation process now. There's a progress bar. There's no Apple logo. I assume that's because it's a third-party bootloader, but looks like it's rebooting again now. And with no startup chime. That makes me sad. Because it's open core, that's why. I think there's a way to enable it, but I'll figure that out later. I think there's also a way to hide the boot picker, which I would do. Still no high DPI, which is odd. But I guess kind of makes sense, because this patcher really isn't meant to be used with, well, that's not true. It can be used with Retina MacBooks, but, you know, it also works with MacBooks that don't have Retina displays. So, I don't know. Maybe it makes sense. Do they have a mouse cursor? No. Now, I'm not going to be very impressed if this takes a lot of work, because the reason that I bought a Mac laptop to use with Mac OS was so that it was more reliable than a Hackintosh. Because Hackintosh is, unless you really, really know what you're doing, which I don't, it's not really the most reliable of a machine. Like my laptop, my X1 Yoga that I Hackintoshed, it works, but you can't put it in sleep mode because there's no power management for the CPU. It doesn't even go into a sleep state, I don't think. So it just drains the battery and cooks your laptop. That might also be Windows Hybrid Sleep, but I don't know. It just doesn't work. This, however, will let me sleep. It will, you know, it's native Apple hardware, so it should work better. Even if you have to use a patcher to get the newest operating system. But it should be more reliable than what I have right now. That's the whole point. That's the entire reason why I bought this. Hopefully it turns out that I'm correct. And if not, then this is getting sold. Don't get me wrong, it is nice to tinker with stuff and have stuff not work and fix problems sometimes, but there's a startup chime. When you just need to pull your laptop out quickly in the middle of class so you can open up a textbook and take some notes or read some questions, you don't want to be waiting the 45 seconds for the machine to power on from a shutdown. You don't want to deal with a Wi-Fi card that only works half the time, you know? We have a cursor, and we can move the cursor, and we also have an Apple logo with high DPI. So that makes me think we're actually booting into the OS now. We're done the installation process. Maybe. Okay. We are booted into macOS. Let's open up. Yeah, it's called System Settings, so I already know this is Ventura now. Would you look at that? This is interesting. They've gone back to the old style about this Mac screen. This thing has a fan. I thought it was a fanless model because it was getting hot earlier and it wasn't. There was no fan on. Boy, this is toasty. That's okay. I'm glad it has a fan. Okay, so now there's a more info screen in the settings. The settings is weird. No, I guess it's good. It's weird. I'm so used to system preferences and things like that. The battery is fully charged. That's good. I can unplug this guy. Because we can turn Wi-Fi back on. But I'll keep plugged into Ethernet for now. I will go grab my X1 Yoga and we'll see if the backup is done. Okay, so the backup is about 50% done. So it really shouldn't take that much longer. While we're waiting though, we can install OpenCore on the internal disk. So post-install root patch. All applicable patches already installed. That's good. Build and install OpenCore. Let's install it to the Apple SSD. Nice. Let's reboot. And I will yank out the USB. I think I heard a startup chime. And we have an Apple logo. That's an unusually long time for it to hang on an Apple logo. And a prohibitory sign. That's no good. Let's plug that USB back in. Or rather, let's power it off. There's our OpenCore boot picker. That's weird. It, prohibitory symbol and then it just goes to OpenCore. Let's take a look at the instructions. Maybe it'll tell us how to fix that. Post installation, booting seamlessly, booting without USB drive. Download the patcher, change the patcher settings as you'd like, build OpenCore again, install OpenCore to internal drive, reboot holding Option and select the internal EFI. Oh, I didn't do that last part. Let's do that now. So hold Option. Startup chime. Lovely. EFI boot. Mac OS. That was easy. I just hope I don't have to do that every single time I boot up the system. So to do this, run the OpenCore patcher and head to patcher settings. Show boot picker, no. Once you've toggled them both off, TUI settings? What the hell is TUI? Terminal user interface, I guess. I didn't use the terminal user interface. Build your EFI once again and install. For many users, SIP will be lowered by default on build. For Intel HD 4000 users, SIP is partially disabled. Enabling SIP. I don't know what SIP is, so I'm not going to touch it. Applying post-install volume patches. OCLP 044 and higher include an auto patcher. Yeah, that happened. It automatically patched. Yep, so you can see 13-inch late 2016. That's this MacBook. So that's why we had to use the patcher. None of this applies. As you can see, it goes all the way back down. Ethernet issue with early 2008 Mac Pro. You can install Ventura on a 2008 Mac Pro. That's crazy. That's like the pre-cheese grater cheese grater. So let's reinstall OpenCore now. This is without the boot picker. Let's ignore that for now, because I want to go to System Settings and change the boot device. So maybe it will show, yeah, start at disk. Okay. Start a computer with Mac OS. That sounds right. And it's the only option that's there. We have our Apple logo, and it goes right to booting. We'll restart it one more time just to make sure that I don't have to go to system settings every time I want to reboot. But now that there's no boot picker enabled, it should just work. It's also odd that we don't have an Apple logo for the first few seconds of the boot process there. Let's open the system settings again. Let's not do that. Let's just restart. I'm so glad they brought back the startup chime. And it just boots. That's lovely. That is lovely. I'm going to do one more startup test, and that's from shutdown. Am I stalling because the backup isn't ready yet? Maybe. But I also want to test to see how reliable the starting up of this thing is. So let's shut down. I also want to do a bit of a time it takes to start up, comparison between my ThinkPad with macOS Monterey and this with Ventura, because I guess it's an incompatibility with my SSD in the Yoga, but it usually takes about 30 to 45 seconds for it to to boot to the login screen, which doesn't sound like a very long time, but when you compare it to other laptops of its day, or even, somewhat older than that Yoga, it was made in 2018, booting Windows or Linux, it takes 10 seconds. And you really feel that difference when it's that bad. Boy, this thing is getting dusty already. Clean this boy. I don't know if you can. Yeah, you can. You see that? That's the delamination thing. That's why I got such a good discount on this laptop. So. Boom. And it boots. Lovely. I'll have a timer on screen somewhere. Nice, nice, nice. That is a hell of a lot faster than the Yoga, I'll tell you that. Speaking of the Yoga, is the backup done? It is. The backup is complete. So now, should be able to just go and wipe this somehow. Transfer or reset. Open Migration Assistant. Transfer information. Oh, I probably could have used this instead of doing the Time Machine backup, but that's okay. Closing applications and logging out. Yeah, we'll see if this can. Because honestly, I'm not certain if doing a factory reset would actually be a good idea since it's patched, but you have information on another Mac, you can transfer it to this Mac from a Time Machine backup disk. Connect AC power. Fine. So pushy. Milk your 2, that's correct. Sign in. I hide the keyboard. Hello? Nope. Let's try. This shift key here is a little bit unreliable. There you go, that works. I really hope it's not actually going to use Wi-Fi, because I have Ethernet plugged in. Let's try that one more time. That haptic engine is very real feeling, I must say. I'm gonna be playing with this touchpad all day. So it's not connecting. I wonder. Maybe we don't have to go through the server. One moment. Okay, we've got my ThinkPad X1 Yoga here. Cannot use the Thunderbolt accessory. Okay. Let's go to Migration Assistant. Cover my password. Wrong. Even though he's gone from me, your life makes a world of difference. It was Remy who got me to stop drinking and using, slowly killing myself. And the thought that he would kill himself is unbearable. Why is it not taking my password? Am I going crazy? I mean, you don't want any popularity out of this, the victim people. You can't find them though. About a week ago, this guy, Ricky Velasquez, came to the house. His Remy had evicted him and his family. I wouldn't say he got violent though. You think he made any worse when he was here? I know what I've been through in my life, I don't get frightened of anything. Did he make one of those people? Alright, well, this is why you have 2 administrator accounts on your computer. For some reason, it was not taking my password. Mac can't connect to iCloud, I don't care. To another Mac. Don't care. Aha, MacBook Pro. So it's gonna have to just be a USB-C cable. That is correct. This really gives you a nice comparison of 13-inch to 15-inch. And, you know, I guess kind of the quality of device I'm moving to. Don't get me wrong, I like this ThinkPad. I really, really like it. But, man, this thing is sexy. But it overheats. And it has a shit keyboard. I always say function over form, but when it comes to 13-inch MacBooks, apparently that's not true. At least for me. Unable to connect. It's probably because that's taking too long. So let's just leave that there for a second. If you're wondering, I'm drinking ginger and lemongrass tea. No caffeine because it is 9 o'clock. Well, that's taken a really long time. Let's quit the migration assistant over here. And let's relaunch the migration assistant over here. because then we can, because when I launched the migration assistant, I was connected via Ethernet, and I disconnected that now, so maybe it likes to work better over Wi-Fi. Who knows? Backups of MacBook Pro and Time Machine. That's what I like to see. Let's open up the Assistant one more time. Hopefully it's one more. Okay. Continue. And it doesn't show. It might be this. Yeah. Yeah, it's this. Last backup November 19th. Today's December the 8th. I just did a backup. What the fuck? You know, that's good enough. We'll still have all my apps and whatever installed. Calculating. Oh, my user folder's only 8 gigs. Never mind. Oh no, 8.5. So, no, there's not really much interesting after this. You know, it's just going to calculate, it's going to transfer, and then it'll reboot, and it'll be just like my yoga. Although I will keep filming. I have to stop right now because my phone's storage is about to fill up, and I have to upload some of the footage that I just took. So, jump cut to, I don't know, some time.
So much later that the old narrator got tired of waiting and they had to hire a new one.
Boy, oh boy, it has been some time. I think it's been a week? No. 5 days. It's been 5 days since I recorded that last segment, and I guess I'm ready to give my initial review of this here MacBook, because I've been using it for the past few days, you know, going back and forth to school and whatnot. But before I get into that, I will mention that the user transfer went really good. macOS Ventura has been fine, you know, no issues using that patcher. And I also opened it up, but I didn't record that. I have pictures, which I'll put here. It was a bitch, I'll say that much. Apple really hasn't been known for its repairability in the past few years. But, you know, it was easier than I think a newer Mac. No, that's not true. newer MacBooks are a little bit easier, I think. It was easier than the 12-inch MacBook of this thing's time, which isn't really saying a lot. You know, pentalobe screws, having to remove a bunch of things to get at other things, all the screws are different sizes, and basically having to take the whole logic board out, just replace the thermal paste, which I was doing because the old stuff was crusty and, 6 years old, so... but I did get it back together, and it is still working, which is good. There's just a new quirk with one of the Thunderbolt ports on the side. This one, when it works, but if you plug it in and it doesn't work, you have to switch it around and go the other way, or you have to just pull it out slightly and then it works. But when it's fully plugged in a certain way, because you can plug it in both ways, it's one of the ways doesn't work if you plug it in all the way. So, but I'm not gonna bother taking it apart to try and fix that because it's so small an issue. I just feel like I'm gonna end up making it worse. Anyway, let's open the thing up. The shift keys that I was, I don't actually remember if I filmed that or not, but I did mention that this shift key doesn't work, and this shift key is intermittent, and I did order replacement keycaps and switches off of eBay, and that should get here within this week, maybe next week, and hopefully that'll fix the problem, because I did discover that the way that the bottom of this, the way that the bottom of the switch, maybe I can put up a picture or something of the butterfly switch, but the way that the switch actually stays in the keyboard, it's just some tiny little prongs that are going underneath another piece of plastic, and those prongs are so easy to break that well, maybe it's just me being an idiot, but those prongs are so small that it's really hard to get in and it's really hard to get out, and they're really easy to break. And I think that was a big factor in why the butterfly keyboard was so trash. But honestly, typing on it hasn't been that bad. People that I've given it to have said, wow, these are really flat, and I have to agree, the keys are really flat. They don't travel very much. But I think I said this before, I found that it improves my typing speed, actually, because I always tend to bottom out on a regular keyboard. So I guess I'm not complaining. And yeah, performance hasn't been that bad. I haven't been throwing, the latest Call of Duty and Fortnite at this thing. Just basically, hi Pumbaa. It's basically word processing, spreadsheets, web browsing. I have been doing a little bit of programming in VS Code, just Python. So it's not exactly the most demanding thing. You can run, grade 11 type Python scripts on a toaster. So it's great for what I've been using it for. It's really nice. It's better to throw in a bag. I have noticed that it's better to throw in a bag than my ThinkPad was. And I really like the screen. The screen is a lot better as well. It's a Retina, so it's a lot sharper. And yeah, I think that's about all I have to say. Mac OS is really nice. One thing that I didn't have, I don't think, because of the Wi-Fi card on the ThinkPad, was AirDrop. And in a high school classroom, AirDrop is a nice thing to have. So I'm glad to have that. And You know, even iMessage, I think is really nice to have, although you can't play the iMessage games on desktop, I don't think. You need an iPhone for that. So, who knows, maybe one of my next videos will be me unboxing and giving first impressions of an iPhone. You know, the next one's supposed to have USB-C, and that's what's been holding me off. That's the only reason I didn't get an iPhone last time around, is because no USB-C. Next time there is going to be USB-C, so, you know, I guess we'll see. Yeah, I guess I don't really have anything else to say. Sorry I took so long to film the last part of the video, but I've been busy. Like and subscribe if you want to. Leave a comment of what videos you want me to see. You want to see from me, rather. And, yeah, I will see you later. Bye-bye.